Do you get a lot of flyers in the mail? I know I sure did, especially during this 2020 political season. And I had no clue what to do with them. I didn't know if I was going to repurpose them, throw them away, recycle, etc. Just didn't know what to do. So I decided to take these flyers and turn them into backgrounds for cards. And also I have a couple of bonus techniques I can show you along the way. So keep watching while we ratchet up your art. For those of you who don't know me, I am Sherry, a mixed media artist who likes to take the ordinary to the extraordinary and provide different techniques that you can follow along and try. And if you're new to my channel, welcome to Ratchet Up Your Art, where I help you take your art to the next level and provide a different perspective along the way. Okay, before we get started on our project, I'd like to go over the basic tools of jelly printing. I like a bigger plate, and I also like to use a smaller jelly plate. I also like to use mini brayers, so go check out my videos on the different basic jelly printing tools that I'll be using, as well as the different techniques. To achieve the look I create for these backgrounds, I'll take you through 3 different layer techniques. For the first layer of this project, I will be using heavy body paints, whatever paints you have on hand. For today's project, I am going to use the fall type colors, or analogous colors, meaning they're from the same family, such as the warm colors, the reds, the yellows, and the oranges. Here I'm adding paint to the smaller plate for several reasons. 1, I can control the amount of paint that goes onto my larger plate. And 2, I can mix the colors using my brayer. If you don't have another plate to mix colors on or to use to control your paint, you can use a craft mat or some other type of substrate. Another reason why I like to use a smaller jelly plate is so I can control the amount of paint that's on my brayer before transferring it over to the bigger jelly plate. I also like to use my brayers like paintbrushes, where I can pre-mix the colors prior to applying to the bigger jelly plate. The reason why there are 2 yellow splotches on my jelly plate is because I didn't have enough paint on my brayer, and rolling them out became extra difficult. Okay, let's talk about those color combinations I'm using today. These are analogous colors, and they are colors next to each other on the color wheel. If I were to use complementary colors like blue and orange while the paint is wet, we would have all different color combinations that would not be very pleasing on the jelly plate. So, to learn more about different color combinations you can use, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified of my future videos. Remember, this is a 3-step process. The first is the foundation layer. So here I am going to pull a political flyer that had a really cool wolf on the back of it, and I'm going to place it down on the jelly plate. And then I am going to pull another political flyer and place that on the jelly plate as well, since I have room. I'm going to firmly rub both of these political flyers with my hand and a brayer so that I can get most of the paint from the plate to the political flyer and cover the background. So let's go ahead and pull these prints and see what we got. After those 2 pulls of the political flyers, I noticed that I may have gotten a bonus image transfer. That's one of the bonuses that I wanted to show you with this technique using political flyers. Here I'm just laying down some basic cardstock to see if I can pull an image transfer from either one of these political flyers. I have to tell you, I'm pretty excited to see what kind of image we're pulling right here, right now. Boom, we did it. Wolf image transfer. Woohoo! Okay, let's just stop and talk about image transfers and why it's really cool to have one. You do not need to use fancy magazines or high quality photos to create an image transfer. You can get them right from these flyers that you get in the mail, political or otherwise type of flyers. The reason why I wanted an image transfer is so I can have some unique textures to any of my jelly prints. However, there are some artists who like to use image transfers as a whole piece of artwork by itself. So the choice is up to you. But let's look at these again. This is a really cool image transfer. And then we have some other ones from the political flyer. Now I'm just going to continue to build the foundation of my political flyer by using different paints and building that painting layer up. As we continue to build the foundation layer of these backgrounds, I decided to pull my child's old school papers to use as a substrate to pull jelly prints from. I think that the printing on these papers will bring a unique texture to the jelly prints. When I pulled those last foundation layers off my political flyers, I noticed I may have gotten another image. So I'm thinking I'm going to let this dry a little bit and clean up my smaller jelly printing plate to see what I get. I decided to use a lighter color of paint, like a yellow, to put over the jelly plate and to bring up that image. So let's see what we're getting here. Okay. And for the pool, we have done it again, folks. We have a ghost image of an image transfer. Bonus technique number 2, done. Check. Here I am just pointing out some other ghost images of the image transfer we got. But check out that wolf. Isn't that cool? That's a cool texture to a jelly print that I'll use later in some other project. But one wonders as we go through this process, could we have painted the background of those flyers with gesso or painted on top of those flyers? We sure could have. But what would have been the fun in that? We wouldn't have used our jelly plates. But this is a good time to experiment with different paint techniques and see how they work with the flyers. And also too, this technique, I was just really looking to add different textures of the political flyers that would come through my backgrounds. So sit back and relax as we keep building the first foundation of the backgrounds. Remember that experimenting I was talking about with different paints? Well, I've decided here I'm going to use what I refer to as the 3 Amigo paints. Those are your Tim Holtz, your Dina Wakley, and your Dilution paints. The 3 Amigos paints that I lovingly refer to them as go on really smoothly onto the jelly plate, and that's because they're more fluid in nature than the heavy body paints that we were using in the beginning. So we're still building that first layer foundation onto our backgrounds. The thing I like about the 3 Amigos paints is that they separate. They tend to bead or separate on the jelly plate. This produces a really nice effect on your jelly prints. However, with the background that we're using here, the political flyers, you won't see it as well as if you were to use them on regular jelly printing pulls. Watch some of the beading that goes on. I'll point it out as it occurs because it really does change before your eyes. Okay, so we're just going to let those dry. However, in looking at these, I think I'll have to go back and put a little bit of orange in that spot right there to cover up the dark blue. But also in looking at the wolf picture, you can see his eyes, but that's okay because by the time we cut the cards, you won't see them. Okay, so I thought I'd do a quick summary of everything we went over on the building the backgrounds and show you the latest pulls. On this card, I did go back and add a little bit of orange to cover up some of that blue banner that was on the flyer. And it turned out pretty good. And then for the wolf, I really like the gold metallic paint that we put on top. You can still see his eyes, but by the time we cut these backgrounds into cards, it won't even be noticeable. Okay, so what we have here is what I call get off the plate print or a dismount print. If you want to learn how to do that technique, head on over to my basic jelly printing videos to learn more. in the meantime, what's interesting about this print is that when I used those old school papers, it left some marks onto the jelly plate that I was able to then pull up. And so this created a nice, surprising effect. Again, you can use any type of paper or substrate to pull prints from. So again, I used my child's old math book that he scribbled in to do some math to pull these prints that I can use later for something else. So that's what these are, and they make very interesting textures. This is another print that we pulled from the plate. And then again, as I stated, the bonus technique, which is you can take some of those flyers that you get in the mail and do an image transfer. Those work really well with not a lot of effort. It's effortless. And so you don't have to go out and get those fancy magazines to get an image transfer. So that is definitely this guy right here. And then we took a ghost image. You can kind of see the wolf, and so we pulled a print. And you can kind of see the wolf here for this one, and then some more pulls, and then this was another printing image transfer that we pulled as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to let these dry a little bit more because they're kind of wet. But I do want to talk to you about a few of these things. If you take your embossing gun to this and you're not careful, you could make this bubble, the plastic in the paint bubble. And so you have to be very careful when you're drying these. You want to keep your heat away from these flyers because of that plastic coating that's on there, and also acrylic paint, the heavy body paints have some plastic type qualities to it that will make it bubble as well. So you can let these dry. You can heat baths on them. You can do all kinds of things with them. And they're a nice heavyweight paper. So with that said, we'll let these dry, and then we'll show you, I'll cut them up and we'll show you some different techniques. In my next video, I'm going to show you how to take these backgrounds and turn them into cards. So make sure you ring that bell to be notified when part 2 of my video is available for you to continue on the journey with me. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have not already subscribed, please consider doing so. It would really make my day. Thank you for watching Ratchet Up Your Art.